Imagine you are a soldier in Vietnam traveling the dense, dangerous jungles. The air is thick with tension, and every step could be your last one. Suddenly, a scream pierces the air, and you whirl around to see your best friend, a fellow recruit you've trained with for months, disappearing into the ground. As you rush to help him, you realize the true horror of the war and Vietnam's vicious traps, each one a deadly reminder of how dangerous this place is. Get ready to look at the most vicious traps used in the Vietnam War. Like and subscribe to our channel if you like war history. Let's dive into the video. Number 8. Punji sticks. During the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong used a cunning and deadly weapon called punji sticks, made from sharpened bamboo stakes hidden in the ground. These traps were strategically placed along jungle trails, riverbanks, and near tunnel entrances to injure enemy troops. Coated with harmful substances like venom or excrement, even minor wounds could lead to serious infections. Originally used in the First Indochina War, punji sticks became infamous during Vietnam as the Viet Cong refined their tactics. One Marine, Frank Harbert, fell victim to a punji stick trap, experiencing intense pain and weeks of recovery. The psychological impact on enemy forces was significant, causing anxiety and mistakes. To counter this threat, U.S. and South Vietnamese forces developed reinforced footwear and sent scouts ahead to detect traps. Despite efforts to evade them, the Viet Cong adapted with more sophisticated designs, demonstrating their resourcefulness in warfare. Number 7. Net and falling traps. The Viet Cong's use of the net and falling traps showcased their cleverness and cunning, proving highly effective in disabling and demoralizing U.S. and South Vietnamese forces. These traps, both physical and psychological weapons, induced fear of entrapment or falling into hidden pits among soldiers. Net traps, or man-catchers, ensnared enemy troops, lifting them into vulnerability with concealed ropes triggered by unsuspecting steps. Often paired with tripwires or punji sticks, they were exemplified in 1966 during Operation Attleboro, when Sergeant Michael O'Brien was swiftly lifted into a tree, emphasizing the constant threat posed by Viet Cong tactics. Falling traps like the infamous tiger trap concealed sharpened stakes, sometimes coated with poison or excrement, causing grievous injuries. Lieutenant Tran Van Tuan recounted the horror of witnessing a comrade fall into one, highlighting the arduous rescue efforts. These traps instilled dread among troops, emphasizing the Viet Cong's resourcefulness in warfare. Number 6. The Cu Chi Tunnels. The Cu Chi Tunnels, an extensive network of underground passages spanning over 250 kilometers, played a vital role in the Viet Cong's guerrilla tactics during the Vietnam War. Constructed between the late 1940s and the 1960s, these tunnels stretched from Saigon's outskirts to the Cambodian border, serving as a hidden stronghold for surprise attacks, supply movements, and evasion from capture. Despite challenges like cramped quarters and poor ventilation, the tunnels housed various amenities such as sleeping areas, meeting rooms, kitchens, and makeshift hospitals. Cleverly designed with multiple levels and hidden entrances, they were equipped with traps to deter intruders. Discovered by American and South Vietnamese forces in the early 1960s, specialized units called tunnel rats were formed to locate and dismantle these underground structures. Despite their efforts, the Viet Cong's familiarity with the tunnels allowed them to evade capture and launch ambushes, frustrating enemy forces. Number 5. Use of poisonous creatures and sabotage. The Viet Cong's mastery of psychological warfare was showcased through their use of poisonous creatures and sabotage tactics during the Vietnam War. Employing snakes, scorpions, and other deadly animals, they instilled fear and uncertainty among enemy troops. These creatures were strategically placed in hidden compartments, booby traps, and even soldiers' sleeping areas, causing venomous bites that could incapacitate or kill. In one notorious tactic, venomous snakes were placed in the bags of American and South Vietnamese soldiers as they slept. Such encounters left lasting traumas, as described by Corporal John Harker, who narrowly survived a deadly snake bite. Additionally, the Viet Cong poisoned food and water supplies, targeting the necessities of life and fostering constant vigilance and distrust among enemy forces. Number 4. Booby traps and landmines. These deadly devices, ranging from modified hand grenades to advanced mines like the Bouncing Betty, caused not only physical harm, but also demoralized enemy troops and disrupted their operations. The Bouncing Betty, originally a German weapon from World War II, would launch into the air before detonating, causing devastating injuries. Obtained from various sources, including captured enemy stockpiles and sympathetic nations, these traps were cleverly disguised and difficult to detect. One infamous example was the grenade in a can, a simple yet deadly trap that could be easily concealed. The widespread use of these traps took a heavy toll on US and South Vietnamese forces, leading to casualties and eroding morale. In response, they developed countermeasures, such as minesweepers and specialized training, to detect and avoid these hidden dangers. Number 3. Viet Cong's guerrilla tactics. During the Vietnam War, the Viet Cong, a communist guerrilla group fighting against the US and South Vietnamese forces, became known for their clever and effective tactics. They developed innovative methods to outmaneuver their enemies in the dense jungles and rice paddies of Vietnam. Blending in with the local population and using the natural terrain to their advantage, they relied heavily on surprise attacks. Key to their strategy was the vast network of underground tunnels, like the Cu Chi tunnels near Ho Chi Minh City, which served as living quarters, storage spaces, and even hospitals. The Viet Cong's most iconic tactic was their use of traps, designed to maim, kill, or demoralize enemy troops, striking fear into their hearts. General Von Nguyen Giap, a historical figure associated with Viet Cong tactics, emphasized cunning in battle. Beyond traps, they employed booby traps in psychological warfare, aiming to undermine enemy morale and ultimately break their will to fight. Number 2. Disabling Viet Cong traps. As US and South Vietnamese forces faced the constant danger of Viet Cong traps during the Vietnam War, they recognized the urgent need to defend against these deadly devices. Captain Ernest "Ernie" Brace, a dedicated US Army engineer, took on this challenge upon his arrival in Vietnam in 1963. Studying captured traps and collaborating closely with local allies, Brace and his team developed effective strategies to detect and disarm Viet Cong traps. Soldiers were trained to spot telltale signs of traps and to use specialized tools like the trap probe, a metal rod designed to safely probe the ground for hidden dangers. Canine units, with their keen sense of smell, also proved invaluable in detecting traps and saving lives. Meanwhile, efforts back in the United States focused on developing advanced protective gear like lightweight body armor and puncture-resistant boots to shield troops from harm. Number 1. Wire traps. These wire traps, like snap traps and slide traps, were crafted from simple materials but caused devastating harm. Snap traps, made with wires and sharp objects, were designed to injure or kill soldiers who triggered them. Private James O'Neill's encounter in 1966 illustrates their danger when he stumbled upon one and was wounded in the leg. Slide traps, on the other hand, aim to make victims lose their footing and fall into pits or onto stakes. Lieutenant Tran Quoc Hung's account in 1970 vividly portrays this danger when one of his men fell into a pit of sharpened bamboo stakes. These traps, hidden in the dense jungle, struck fear into enemy troops and served as a grim reminder of the Viet Cong's cunning tactics. The impact of Viet Cong traps on soldiers and the land. The Viet Cong's widespread use of booby traps during the Vietnam War had significant effects on soldiers and the landscape, leaving a lasting legacy. These traps, though basic, were highly effective, causing serious harm to US and South Vietnamese forces and affecting morale and tactics. Soldiers faced constant danger in the dense jungles, leading to stress and anxiety. To combat the threat, traditional military tactics had to be adapted, relying more on small units and reconnaissance missions. This shift perpetuated a cycle of fear and adaptation. Even after the war, the region still contends with the remnants of these traps, posing ongoing risks to civilians. Akira, a former child soldier turned activist, exemplifies the lasting impact, dedicating his life to clearing landmines and raising awareness. That's all for today. If you enjoyed watching this video, make sure to check our next video. Thank you for watching.